Hi, I'm Jim Blair with Bee Cave Drilling. You already know about the amazing freeze miser and how it helps you to keep your water system from freezing up. But today, I want to introduce you to the Microsweeper. It's a similar product made by the same company, but it has a different purpose. So you remember that your freeze miser leaks water out when the water temperature gets down to 37 degrees, and it just lets it dribble out right here onto the ground. The Microsweeper works a little different. When the air temperature gets down to 41 degrees, this little tube's going to cool off and it's going to leak out of that connection right there. We could put a fitting on there and put a hose on there and run that back down your well. That way you're not making an ice slick so you don't slip and fall, and you're conserving the water by putting it back in the well. So if you've got a pressure switch like this, you can get an extra 1/4-inch nipple and T that you install right below it. You can put your Microsweeper on right there. You can put your hose adapter on right there and run that back into your well. That way when the water gets cold, it dumps it back into the well, and your well pump's going to turn on and bring warm water into your system, and that way you're not going to freeze up. Or if you've got a tank T like this, you might have an extra 1/4-inch outlet that you can screw your Microsweeper straight into. Now, one of the beautiful things about this installation is you're not dumping the water out on the ground, so you're not going to put ice on the ground that you might slip and fall on. And you're conserving the water by recirculating it back into your well. But if you've got a storage tank system, you really need to be concerned about your fill pipe freezing up. If it's a really cold night and you've got about a gallon a minute leaking out, that's going to turn on your well every few hours because your water level has to drop about 12 inches in your tank. And I guarantee you're going to freeze up this fill pipe because this installation does not prevent a freeze. It simply slows it down. So what we're going to do is we're going to install a Microsweeper on an outside faucet, and we're going to dump that water into this fill pipe, circulating this water. That way you don't freeze up. So the faucet we like to use is this drain valve for a water heater, and we like it because it has this little 1/8-inch tap here on the side. You can screw an 1/8-inch nipple right there, and your Microsweeper actually has a female thread, 1/8-inch thread right there on the end of it. So you can screw that on right there, and it has water pressure to it even if the faucet is off. So we've got our Microsweeper installed on our faucet here, and we've got a little 1/4-inch tube on it. I'm going to put some ice against this brass tube here, and that's going to cause the valve to open up. See it opening it up there? That's letting out a couple gallons a minute. Now, when it gets warmed up, which I'm going to simulate by putting some warm water on that tube, you see that it just shuts the valve down. Now that's a pretty brilliant design. The flow that comes out of the valve depends upon the size and length of the hose. Assuming you have around 60 psi, the flow rates with no hose would be around 5 gallons per minute. With a 1/4-inch hose, you'll get around 1 GPM with 25 foot of hose, or 2 GPM with 10 foot of hose, and around 4 GPM with only 1 foot of hose. If you have a long run, you might want to go up to a 3/8-inch hose, and with that, you can get up to 2 gallons a minute, even with a 25 foot hose. So we've got our 1/4-inch tube connected to our Microsweeper, and this is our fill pipe going to our storage tank. So I'm just going to connect that right up here. Now, one downside to this PEX piping is that it's not sunlight resistant. So I'm going to wrap it up with this electrical tape so that the sunlight won't break it down. So here you have your finished installation. You got your Microsweeper with your hose, it's all wrapped up, and your faucet's available for you to use all year long. But if it's a crazy cold night and you want extra protection, you can put your freeze miser on right there, and that way you're sure not to freeze up. So one thing I want to point out is that both the Microsweeper and the freeze miser only work as long as the pump keeps running. So if your power shuts off, it's going to freeze right up. So make sure you keep the power on to your water system. If you've got any questions, give us a call, and thank you for letting us be your well man.